Hey, I figured I'd send this in because I've never really told it in full. It's not dramatic or over the top, but it's something that still bothers me to this day. During my junior year of college, I lived in the oldest dorm on campus. It was one of those historic buildings the school brags about on tour days, but in reality it's just old, creaky, and had paper-thin walls. Everyone said it was haunted, but that's just the usual campus folklore. I never paid attention to any of that. The only part of the building that was actually creepy was the basement. The laundry room was down there, but it barely looked like a place you'd want to spend 5 minutes. Cement floors and walls, poor lighting, dusty pipes everywhere, and it had an odd damp smell, no matter how many dehumidifiers they ran. Most students avoided doing laundry at night because of how unsettling it felt. I usually didn't care, but I get why others avoided it. There was a door down there that always bugged me. It was tucked away in the far corner, like someone built it after the rest of the basement was finished. It had a heavy lock on it, more secure than anything else in the building, which was weird in and itself. I messed with it a few times because I got into picking locks in college. Nothing crazy, just boredom and curiosity. But this one never budged, not even close. I gave up after a few tries. Fast forward to one night near the end of fall semester. I've been running on empty for a few days, tons of assignments, barely sleeping, and just trying to push through this. That night I had finally finished all my work by 9:30 p.m. and was genuinely excited to go to bed early for once. Then I got a call from a friend going through something heavy. We talked for an hour. Right as I was wrapping that up, another friend messaged needing to vent. Then, just after 1 a.m., a third person reached out. I'm not exactly a social butterfly, so that much emotional labor in one night had me totally drained. Anyway, it's about 2:30 a.m. now, and I'm walking back to my dorm, just exhausted and frustrated that my earlier night turned into a late one. I get to the door, swipe my key fob, and as I'm waiting for the click, I get this weird feeling in the back of my neck, like that creeping, crawling sensation you get when someone's watching you, but I was alone. I step inside the lobby, and my eyes immediately go to the stairs leading down to the basement. I don't know why. I literally stopped and just stared at them. I started to rationalize it. Maybe I left laundry in the dryer, but I knew I hadn't done any laundry that day. Then, this is going to sound strange, but I felt this strong urge to go downstairs. Not like fear, more like curiosity, or that feeling you get when you suddenly remember something important. It was like that subtle nudge inside my brain saying, "Go check the basement." I stood there for a minute debating it. I even thought, if someone's down there doing laundry, I look like a total creep. But I started walking down anyway. Lights were on, place was empty, dead silent. I walked into the middle of the basement and just stood there. Nothing was happening. Nothing was different. I felt ridiculous. I turned to head back up the stairs, and that's when I noticed it. The locked door, the one that hadn't opened for the entire semester, was open. Just slightly ajar, enough to see it wasn't locked anymore. Without thinking, I walked over. It was a small room, closet-sized. Just a desk, one of those old tiny school desks for kids, and an old office chair in front of it. No boxes, no brooms, no cleaning supplies. Just that setup. And the chair, it was spinning. Not fast, not dramatic, just a slow, steady rotation, like someone had just gotten up and it hadn't settled yet. I did not even process it. I turned and ran, straight back up the stairs, up all 3 flights to my room, slammed the door, locked it, and jumped into bed with all my clothes still on. My heart wasn't racing, I wasn't even scared in the horror movie sense. I was just done, emotionally and mentally done. I never went near that door again. I still did laundry, but only when other people were down there too. I also never saw it open again, not once. I asked a few people casually if they've ever seen inside of it, and no one had. A couple of them said they tried picking it too, same as me, and had no luck. It's been a few years since, and I still can't explain it. Maybe someone was screwing around. Maybe I imagined the spinning chair. But I know what I saw, and I've never been able to shake how off that whole night felt. That's it. Not really a story with a climax or a twist. Just something real, and something I still think about. I'm not sure if this qualifies as a scary story, but it's the weirdest night I've ever had in my life. Last summer, a couple of buddies and I did a cross-country road trip. It was mostly to see a few national parks and visit friends along the way, but we were also trying to save money wherever we could. Instead of paying for hotels every night, we figured we'd just sleep in the bed of my friend's pickup truck. We laid down a big tarp, had sleeping bags and pillows, and used another tarp as a makeshift cover. It wasn't comfortable, but, it worked. One night, we pulled into a small, wooded campground somewhere in Idaho. I couldn't even tell you the name of it. It was one of those places we found randomly on an app, with no reception, completely off the grid. We were the only ones there as far as I could tell. The night was calm, a little chilly, but nothing extreme. The guys knocked out pretty quickly, but I've always had trouble falling asleep, especially outdoors. Every noise feels amplified, and I just lie there listening. At some point, I started to feel weird. It was hard to explain. Kind of like that gut feeling you get when you realize you left your wallet behind, or when something just feels off. At first, I thought maybe I was just hungry. I got up quietly, climbed into the cab of the truck, grabbed some snacks, and ate them while looking out into the woods. Nothing out there. I laid back down and actually drifted off for a bit. I don't know how long I was asleep, but I woke up with this overwhelming sense of unease. That gut feeling had come back, but stronger, almost like something was pulling at me to stay awake, to pay attention. There was no sound, no movement, nothing visible that would explain why I felt that way, but my heart was racing. I tried to push it aside, told myself I was being paranoid. Still, I couldn't get back to sleep. I laid there for maybe an hour, just staring at the top of the tarp. And then, just like before, I suddenly sat up. My whole body felt wrong. Shaky, nauseous, heart pounding. That was the moment I decided I didn't care how dumb I looked. I needed to leave. I woke up my friends. They were groggy and annoyed, asking what the heck was going on. I told them something did not feel right, and that we needed to go. I don't know what convinced them, maybe the look on my face, but they got up and helped pack up in record time. Within 10 minutes, we were back on the road. We drove for maybe 40 minutes and found another campground. This one was not great either, but it was at least closer to the highway and had a few more cars parked around. We figured it was better than nothing. We parked, laid back down, and all passed out from exhaustion. Then it happened again. This time I was woken up by both of my friends, shaking me. They were pale, wide-eyed, and telling me we needed to get out of there. I did not even have time to ask questions. The second I sat up, it was like being punched in the gut with dread. I don't even know how to describe it. My arms were shaking, my chest felt heavy, and my head was spinning. Nothing was around us. No noises, no movement, nothing at all. We did not talk. We just got in the truck and drove. After maybe 2 hours of silence on the highway, one of my friends finally said he swore we were being followed earlier, that he kept seeing headlights in the distance for a while, but then they disappeared. I did not see anything myself, but I also didn't really look. I was just focused on getting as far away from that feeling as possible. We eventually found a hotel in a bigger town. Did not even care about the price, we just booked it and crashed. And to this day, we still don't know what happened that night. There were no signs of animals, no people. It wasn't sleep paralysis or anything like that either. We were fully awake both times. I've never experienced anything like it since, but I trust that gut feeling now more than I ever did before. If you end up using this for your channel, cool. Just don't use my real name. So I live in North Carolina, in a pretty quiet neighborhood. The kind where you know the names of the people 2 houses down, but not much beyond that. My backyard backs up to another neighborhood, but there's this strip of trees and brush that separates the two. Not a forest or anything, just maybe 10 feet of slightly overgrown mess. It's enough to block your view of the other side, but not enough to get lost in. It's where people threw clippings, and maybe some old lumber if they don't want to deal with it properly. It was a regular weekday night. I'd had a long day at work, and just wanted some quiet time, so I went out back with a book. It was around 10:15 p.m. Porch lights were on, weather was nice, so I figured I'd read a few chapters before heading to bed. I had a glass of water, and my chair tucked back in the corner of the patio. Not much going on. Maybe 20 minutes in, I hear footsteps. At first, I did not think much of it. This is the South. You hear stuff at night. I figured maybe it could be a raccoon or some kind of stray dog. The leaves crunching did not bother me at first, until I noticed the steps sounded slow, heavy, spaced apart like a person walking, not the quick patter of an animal. Then I thought, okay, maybe it's a deer. We get those sometimes. So I tried to ignore it, went back to reading, but my brain was on alert. The noise was not going away. It was getting closer. What really messed me up was when the steps were right behind the property line of my next door neighbor. That's when I really started paying attention. I was sitting in the dark with the porch light blazing behind me, so I could not see out into the trees very well. But I could hear, 2 steps at a time. No scurrying, no sniffing or chewing, just deliberate footfalls. That's when it hit me. Deer don't walk on 2 legs. So I stood up, kind of half yelling, "Hey." Nothing changed. The steps just kept coming, steady, right through that narrow strip between neighborhoods. That's when I got pissed, but also a little nervous. I flipped off the porch light so I wasn't lit up like a Christmas tree, and I raised my voice again. This time I said, "Yeah, creeping around at night isn't a good look. It's a good freaking way to get shot, though." I'm not some paranoid guy itching to pull a trigger, but this is North Carolina. Most of us don't play when it comes to home security. I've replaced all my door strike plates with double metal ones, used 3-inch screws in every hinge, and keep 2 bars in the sliding glass door. My doors are locked even if I'm home during the day. If someone's trying to get into this house, they're gonna have to work for it. After I said that, there was this moment where the footsteps just stopped. I heard no sound. Then, out of nowhere, the steps took off in the other direction, running. Not a deer gallop, not an animal crashing through branches. Full speed running, on 2 legs, moving away from my yard toward the houses behind mine. That's when the hair on my arms stood up. Whoever it was had been walking right up to my backyard, and only ran once I acknowledged them. They were definitely human. It was one of those moments where your stomach drops and the adrenaline hits you way after the fact. I stood there for a while in the dark, just listening to make sure they were gone. I did not even want to turn the light back on. I ended up going inside and turning on every light in the house, set the alarm system, something I've never used to bother with, locked everything again, even though it was already locked. Couldn't sleep for hours. I don't know what their plan was. I don't know if they were just cutting through, or if they were scoping out houses to break into. But what I do know is that they did not say a word when I called out. They did not run until I mentioned guns. That's what stuck with me the most. They weren't scared of being caught. They were scared of being shot. Ever since that night, I don't go out back alone after dark anymore. And the alarm, yeah, that's armed every single night now. Anyway, I'd figure I'd send this in to you. Maybe someone else around here has had something similar happen to them.